Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Upload Podcast. I am CCP Gortz, your host. Today, I am joined by CCP JayEss.
Hello. That's me.
That is you. That contractually
Apparently.
and in all ways, that is you.
Yeah.
Welcome to what many are scribbling down as a lore-heavy podcast. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Should we launch straight into it?
Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk about.
So Vanguard is like, we're 2 weeks into it now by the time that this is chopped together. People are asking me, how does the that was acting? Do
Okay.
you like that?
It's like you're opening a little tiny drawer.
That's exactly what it was.
Okay.
People are asking how Vanguard connects to EVE and how we're approaching that as a CCP London as an independent studio.
Wait, what does the drawer have to do with people asking you stuff?
I keep all my comments in a comment drawer.
Okay. Okay. I was like,
Do you not have a comment drawer?
my Discord doesn't have a drawer.
Well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Work hard enough.
Yeah. Yeah. How are we going to, what was the question? How are we going to?
The question was how Vanguard, how does the storyline connect into EVE?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess all of this needs to be prefaced by saying that we're sort of, it's super early days, you know, I think. And that's like a huge question. And the answer will largely be emergent, I would say. However, what we do have planned is, or what we're starting to build now is Bastions. And we think that Bastions is going to be the main way that the two games will interface.
Okay.
So the EVE game has a ton of corporations, a ton of factions, and on the Vanguard side, we're going to have Bastions eventually spread out across the whole of the cluster. Some of them will be NPCs, some of them will eventually be player-owned Bastions, and how those Bastions interface with factions and corporations in EVE will cause story to happen, you know. And so our sort of approach will be to watch those interactions and to, you know, try and sort of like set things up from our side, from the NPC factions that we think will provoke cool stories, and to, you know, but also to respond to the interactions that do happen emergently between players on the EVE side and the Vanguard side, or just on the Vanguard side, or just on the EVE side, and try and react and respond to those things with stories as well, or to amplify the stories that are happening organically. So it's a big, complicated question, but the short answer is Bastions is our sort of like, that's our bet. Yeah, if that doesn't work out, then we'll try something else. But that's the current thinking.
Are we happy that we'll be able to move quickly with Bastions and like interacting with like things that arise for steering those storylines?
Yeah, I mean, like even now, you know, we're able to, you know, fairly quickly make expeditions, which are, you know, which we can make in response to things that are happening in EVE, for example. So we can do some of this already. Yeah, Bastions are at a super early phase of development. So, you know, by early access, we'll have a version of Bastions ready for players, but there's probably only going to be one single Bastion. So the story there will probably be about like the internal politics of that Bastion and what the existence of that Bastion means to the wider EVE game, and what it could mean, and based on what it could mean, what the response is then from the EVE game and from the rest of Vanguard. But yeah, so, you know, we'll be able to respond fairly quickly, and, you know, we need to be able to respond quickly with things like expeditions and sort of, you know, and missions that players can do, and narrative. So yeah, right now we're trying to, alongside Bastions, we're trying to sort of like figure out what tools we're going to need to do that and start to build them.
But there's the potential there for you to stir up the whole EVE universe with your Vanguard antics. Yeah,
we need to have tools to be able to do that, or, you know, obviously we don't want to, we don't want to like ruin the EVE game. That's always a big thing that we
don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. You know, so we need to make sure that, you know, and this is why we're working very closely with designers on the EVE side and narrative on the EVE side to make sure that we are working in a way that isn't going to negatively impact the EVE game. And if we are going to impact the EVE game, then that impact is understood, and it's kind of it's agreed upon between all of the sort of designers involved. And then as far as the reaction goes, that will also be done together, you know. So I think we're really trying to like build strong links now between designers and narrative on our side and designers and narrative on the EVE side, so that everything is like very joined up, cohesive.
So you are talking to each other. It's
a
not
lot.
a case of
Yes.
we're doing Vanguard, you guys are doing EVE. Okay.
Yeah, no, we're talking a lot. Yeah.
Nice.
It's really fun. It's really cool.
Is it?
Yeah.
You,
it's like,
I saw you make a little stabby motion when you're talking about stirring up the EVE universe. You just keep that away from my comments, George.
Okay.
Like if we're just acting out what we're
That
doing
was
for a job.
Yeah, that was a hornet's nest.
That was the hornet's nest, and you're just
don't stab the hornet's nest.
Don't stab or do. Maybe that's what your Vanguard's all about, stirring stuff up.
That was the fear.
Well, here we are.
Yeah.
So obviously, there is a lot on your plate right now. So when I first joined, the first part of work that I'd seen come from yourself was the introduction to Vanguard. The whole sequence, the whole storyline. Do you know what? I'm surely you've seen it. You've all played Vanguard by now, right? You should have. Talk me through the introduction and making that. What was involved? What went into that?
So it started out as I just kind of went through a bunch of old EVE trailers, like people that have watched the old previous trailers for the EVE expansions will recognize a lot of the footage that's in the Vanguard intro, because it's mostly that
placeholder.
And then we supplemented with some concept art that we had made, and so really it was initially just a case of just kind of kit bashing together a rough structure, and trying to figure out, because one of the big bits of feedback we got after the last release was like, who am I fighting, really sort of fundamental questions. And so we just wanted to give, we wanted to kind of, we knew we were going to be fighting Mordu's Legion, so who are working for Upwell. So let's set Upwell up as our kind of antagonists. We know that the Deathless are the ones who have created the Vanguard. So let's set them up, at least for now, we're gonna talk about Deathless in a minute. Yeah, don't you worry. Let's set them up at least for now as the sort of I wouldn't call the Deathless the protagonists at all, but they're the sort of like facilitators they're the people that have like instigated what's happening. So let's like just let people understand that framework, and then let's let people know where you sort of sit in the middle of that. And so we kind of like, we used a few analogies, and one of them was like if Upwell is like Amazon, kind of like slashing tires of Amazon trucks. This time I'm slashing tires,
slashing prices across the board.
So so we just wanted to set that up. And I think on reflection, and we've kind of been talking about this a lot recently, the trailer's wrong. I think it's okay. It's like it's from the wrong perspective, or it's at the wrong scale. Like it looks, I think it needs to be much more focused on the Vanguard, and so we're rewriting a version now that will be in the mud a lot more. We were sort of saying it's like what we've got now is like telling the story of like Vietnam from the perspective of the Pentagon, and we want to go to the jungle. So that will be the next. The next version will be a lot more focused on the Vanguard themselves.
Okay. I mean, like everyone's very, very keen of like the whole hook of like boots on the ground in New Eden is obviously very important to the Vanguard players, and especially the Dust Legacy players as well. Like they're very keen to see that. So the animation and whatnot, the dropping down has become quite iconic amongst Vanguard. Has that always been in? Were we always planned to just drop down and jump out? Is that a thing that happened in the storyboard, or is that a decision that happened elsewhere?
I think it's something that's been evolving over time. We like the early versions of that were just you were in the pod the whole time, and then you dropped to the surface, and then the pod kind of opened and you stepped out. But it just didn't feel like visceral or violent enough, and so we kind of changed that now to be, that the pod splits open in midair and you sort of like free fall the last 70 meters and superhero land into the ground. So it's been this sort of like, we're really starting to now, I think, understand the tone of the game. It's sort of, and this happens on at least all the games I've worked on, where you sort of have an idea when you set out, and it's sort of these things like reveal themselves to you as you go. And now we're really starting to, understand the game that we're trying to make, and the tone of how it should feel to play. And so the Vanguard don't get dropped down in a smooth escape pod, which then sort of like opens and gently step out. It's like the Vanguard, things need to be a lot more visceral and violent.
Nice.
So.
And so who makes the call then? Is that like a group decision that we're going to jump out the last 70 meters, or was that you, or did we all pitch in together and make a decision?
It was definitely a bit of a collective one, where we were just, we had we review with leadership. Oh crap, I'll say that.
Can
Collins.
It's
CCP
fine.
Collins. Yeah,
it's fine. We know.
Yeah,
know his name.
yeah. So and we were just looking at that together, and sort of collectively, just the feeling in the room was just like, this doesn't feel cool enough. This doesn't feel. And if you can't necessarily put your finger on it, but it's just like, it felt like you were getting lowered to the surface in a phone box, and that just didn't feel cool, So it's like, well, how can we, and by the way, we're still really looking at that whole sequence and how we can improve it. And it's not finished yet, I would say, by any stretch. But the pod sort of breaking up and the Vanguard free falling starts to feel a bit more authentic. It feels like it fits, with the tone that we're going for.
Yeah, people seem to think it's pretty badass. I'm sure they'll be in your Discord comments. There they are.
They're in the cupboard. Is that
below
below
the cupboard?
drawer?
I don't know. We opened the drawer. There's loads of ways to.
There's storage in your Discord.
There is, just like in my mind. All right, but like it seems certainly very popular. But you say it's nothing's final with Vanguard.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much room for improvement in almost sort of every area of the game. It's like, it's what's exciting about where we're at. It's like we're the game is better than it's ever been, and I think that's been reflected, I think, so far in the feedback and things like that. But I think we can make it way better. Yeah,
all right,
we can improve.
No small thing. Right, I'm gonna go back in the drawer of the comments and talk to you about something that I know I get a lot of, and I dare say it's been directed to you as well. Everyone out there is talking to me about someone called John Deathless, or Mr. Deathless, or Bobby Deathless. He goes by many names. The community reaction to Deathless and being, would we say, created by Deathless more than resurrected? How would you frame it? Let's talk about Deathless and Vanguard. So who are Deathless in relation to Vanguard when you start the game? Yeah,
so I think there's been a bunch of it's been a really hot kind of topic, but I think people. In my mind, you are not part of Deathless, and in fact, the way that we're imagining Bastions to work is that Bastions are always autonomous, like sovereign. They're almost like sovereign nations, and they might be aligned with or under the influence of factions, but they're never part of the faction. It's like a mercenary army that you've hired. So in that, like, if you hire that mercenary army, you don't necessarily have soldiers within that army. You just hire them, and then their whole structure and how that army works is kind of down to them. You just sort of tell them or ask them what to do, and there's lots of examples in history of like mercenaries not doing what they're told, right? So so that's sort of the first thing. In terms of how the Vanguard were created, it was the Deathless who have uncovered the technology that's made the Vanguard possible, and they've sort of facilitated the Vanguard re-entering the cluster, and they are also helping facilitate the construction of the first Bastion. But it is the Vanguard who are building the Bastion, and the Deathless are facilitating it and sort of funding it. But the Bastion is a Vanguard thing, and so I think that's something that I think is difficult to communicate with the narrative means that we have right now, but will become a lot clearer as time goes on. And then the other thing is that it might be that as long as the game exists, you always start the game as a new player on that first Bastion, which is Deathless aligned. That might be the case, but you will always have the opportunity, and it will always be possible to, almost like right from the beginning, to work against them, to leave, go to a different Bastion, to undermine what the Deathless are trying to do. So there'll always be that agency, and some people might want to join the Deathless Bastion, be part of it, and fight for them, and and party on. But a lot of people will want to leave straight away and go somewhere else, and or undermine what they're doing, and that will be possible. So
you are not necessarily beholden to Deathless then?
Absolutely not. Yeah.
It's all going to be about choice.
So and that has sort of always been the plan. But we needed to start somewhere, and this is where we started.
Well, this is Operation Nemesis, for example, is a play test. It is not the full Vanguard game.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we've talked a lot about the different factions and whatnot that could control the Bastions. Can we talk a bit more about that? And who would you CCP JayEss work for if you were given the opportunity to be a Vanguard?
Well, so I wouldn't work for any of them. Like, so the thing that I'm most excited about the whole game is when we can create, or when somebody makes the first player run Bastion. That's when things get super interesting, and I would want to join one of those, because they're going to be complete, at least in our envisioning of them, they'll be completely player owned. The leadership will be all players. There'll be like ruling councils, and they'll be divided into different, we're calling them vectors, which is basically like chapters, so that do different things. So there's like a vector that's all about war, a vector that's all about exploration and innovation, and a vector that's all about industry. So people will be able to take on roles within those Bastions, and Bastions will all be different, and we'll all Bastions will have identities. Again, this is our vision for them, expressed by, in the same way that kind of countries express identity now by being, very, tech leading country, or very industrial country, or very, aggressive country. Bastions will project identity in a similar way, but through these vectors. And so how players decide to run their Bastions, and the culture of Bastions, and the identity of Bastions will be really interesting. In the same way that, corporations do in EVE. So yeah, I'll join one of those.
Nice. It's a plan.
A nice peaceful, chill Bastion.
A nice peaceful, chill Bastion.
Yeah.
Lots of chilled out Vanguard.
That's it,
We'll see about that. No, that is really interesting. I look forward to seeing that come to fruition. So obviously Nemesis doesn't have much longer left now. You've got to about the start of October to jump in there. We are thoroughly encouraging you to get in there, break stuff, report it to us on the comments. We want to react to what you're saying, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, but you've got to be in it to shape it. So sign up, get in there. It's completely free. Just keep going hell for leather until the end of Operation Nemesis, and let us know, let you know,
sure,
let me know, let us know what you like, what you don't like. We need your feedback. We want your feedback.
And we really do. The whole team, like if you walk around the office at lunchtime, the whole team has got Discord on one page and a stream on the other, or scrolling through YouTube comments. It's like, there's a ton of information coming in right now, obviously, but we will like eventually work our way through as much of it as we possibly can. So I think particularly the VIP Discord, like all of that gets read for sure, you know, and by multiple people. So yeah, I think that is the place to be, and to the feedback on the game.
So the EVE Discord, the EVE Vanguard Discord is the place to be. That's your exclusive.
Yeah.
Several exclusives in this one.
Yeah.
Right, let's get back to work. You got to do your thing. Thank you for watching, everyone. We will see you really soon with another episode of the Uplink podcast. Until next time, goodbye.